Hey guys, it's April with Joy Filled Painting, and welcome to October's craft box for Joy Filled Painting, our crafting club. So, if you are joining us live, don't worry, we're not going to jump into it just yet. We're going to walk through a few things, make sure that you have everything ready to paint along with us. And if you're not a part of the club, still welcome. We love having you here. Kind of check out what we're doing. See if this sounds like fun to you. And if you have questions, pop them in the chat. Let me know that you're here. And then we'll get going. But first we're going to walk through a couple of things to make sure we have everything at our fingertips ready to paint. So you should have all of your wood materials that were shipped to you and all of your paint colors. So let's walk through those paint colors. Now, these paint colors that I'm going to mention, these were the paint colors that are on the paint supply list, but don't feel like you have to use the color palette that I put on there. Okay, so you can use the color palette, but if you've got a whole different vision, awesome. Use the colors of your choice, and yeah, that's what it's all about. So just kind of having fun, exploring your creativity, and learning along the way. Okay, so I already put the white on here, and now I'm going to put the turquoise on my plate. And I don't know if you can kind of tell from this camera angle. It's a little high. I might change that. But I do have two blobs of white on here. So one is where I'm going to keep it like a pure white to use for where I actually want the full color white. And then I have this other one that I'm going to like be pulling and using that to mix and make new colors. Okay, so I just put the white and the turquoise on there. Next, I'm going to put on the chrome orange. Let me get this opened. And you can kind of see these are some bigger bottles that I'm pouring out of. And I'll show you where I got those. Okay, so you see I did that as well. Two different blobs of the chrome orange because I'm going to be mixing and making new colors. The other color that we had on there was the green oxide. And then we have black if you want to use black. Okay, so we're just about there with, I think I put way too much green. You'll see in a little bit just how this works with the wood. All right, and then just not quite sure where I'm going to use the black. So for right now, I'm just going to put a little bit of a drop. All right. So I am going to move my paint off to the side, but I just wanted to make sure you kind of saw that, like kind of get an idea in your head of what colors you want to use and maybe even what new colors you want to make. And then that way you kind of say, okay, well, this is going to be, that's going to be my orange, but then I'm going to have a little bit of orange available to mix and make new colors. So that's what I'm going to put off to the side. Okay. Let's go through our wood materials, kind of get a lay of the land. Okay, so in your kit came these two rectangles. These are stands. So when we make the finished mini latte cup, when we make this guy, we're going to glue it together and then it'll fit in one of these stands. And then another one of these stands is for the pumpkin, if you want to use the pumpkin that way. Okay, so right now we're just doing an inventory check of all the wood material. So you should have two stands that you got. Okay, next you would have like this rectangle that has like these little notches. You can see that, yeah. So those notches, and then this other rectangle. And when we put it together, it'll be like this 3D, look like 3D books stacked. Okay, so you should have that. Then you should have the backboard for your mini latte cup that has the steam coming out. Then you have the latte cup. Then you have the mini sleeve, okay? And then the pumpkin that goes on there. So you have that. Set that aside. And for your mini books, you should have 3 words. I love fall. Okay? And then for your latte, oh, you should have your pumpkin. For your latte, I made mine a little smaller just so I could fit it all in the screen, but you should have your big latte cup and then one of the 3 sleeves. All right. So those are all the things that we need to get started. Okay. Oh, we got a message coming in. All right, let's do that. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get painting, but the first thing I want to, what I'll say is before you get started painting, make sure you have a. This is like a 3/4 to 1 inch flat tip brush, and then I like to use makeup sponges for some of the smaller cuts, more intricate pieces. And you could use one of these sponges if you want. You're going to want something, if you're going to make circles, something to paint circles, which I have another few tips on how to do that. So we'll get to that in just a moment. And then paint markers of colors your choice. And those are all the items that we have. Oh, and of course, glue. We're going to be using glue. You should have a cup of water for your big brush. And then probably, let me get, I have napkins right here that I keep nearby. And should have napkins or paper towels. Okay. So whenever I do these paint projects, we work, all of our projects are 3D, right? So we are going to build the final project in layers, and then we also are going to paint in layers, okay? So this is what we're going to have you do. We are going to think about how we're going to paint all of this. And that's why I had to shrink this bib down so we can get it all onto the screen at the same time. So this is the complete project that we're going to be doing. Plus, you have 3 options for sleeves. Okay, so you're going to want to pick which sleeve you want. I have painted these 2 already, so I'm going to go with pumpkin spice everything. So I'm going to give you a second just to lay it all out. Figure out which slide you want to do. And then hey, I'm back. Okay. So hopefully you have it all laid out. You got your paint colors picked out. Now we're looking at the project in full. And as I was saying, we're going to paint this project in layers. And I always have you start with the bigger pieces or the biggest paint areas first. That way they have the most time to dry. But you're going to see working with the wood, it's going to dry super fast. Okay. So we're going to want to think about how you want to do these colors. Okay. So I'm going to move away these layer pieces. So we're going to come back to the pumpkin spice. We're going to come back to that sleeve. The words, I love fall. And this little cute little pumpkin. And this little mini sleeve I'm setting off to the side because that we're going to do in just a moment. Okay. Okay. So actually, no, let me bring these right back for just a second. There we go. So you're going to want to decide what colors you want to paint everything. Okay. So in your kit came pictures of like sampled finished products. Okay. So right now you're going to want to decide, okay, I want to paint my cup this color. I'm going to paint my book stack these colors. I'm going to paint my words these colors, so on and so forth. So you can have an idea before you get started. And again, you can reference the sample pictures that came in your kit, or you do your own style, which is really fun. I can't wait to see that. So now I know what colors I'm going to do. Okay, so I know I'm going to do this orange. I love orange and teal. I love it. Orange, teal, navy. It's pretty much in my house all year long. Rust color. I love all that. So I have the colors I know in my mind, what colors I'm going to paint everything. So make sure you have that straight away. Now I can go ahead and start setting stuff off to the side. So I'm removing again the words I love fall, the little pumpkin, the mini sleeve. And on this one, I'm not going to paint this backboard. Okay. If you do, I have a tip for you on that. So wait to paint it because I have a tip for you. So don't paint it until I tell you the tip. Okay. That's going to come later. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm not going to paint this. All right. So I got my cup, got my pumpkin, and now this book stack you see has this layer. So I'm just going to separate those two. Okay. So right now, this is what I'm going to work on. Okay. So before you get painting on your pieces, what I do recommend is getting a paper towel, a napkin, and just wiping the wood. Okay. Because sometimes there's still some residue on there from the laser. I laser cut everything. And so sometimes there's still just some little residue on there from the wood, almost like sawdust, I guess you would say. So there we go. Oh my gosh, I love the smell of the burnt wood. All right, so now I'm gonna get painting. I'm gonna have a seat here. Oh boy. I just realized I sat down. I don't even have my beverage with me. Let me get that because I am. Oh, the sliding. It's hot. All right, here we go. So, bringing my paint back because I know that I'm going to paint this the dark orange. This orange here, I'm just doing it just straight how it is. And I'm going to do this part white. And I like to paint the white first for a couple of reasons. One, it's a lighter color. So when I come back over with the darker one here, I can just, bump up right next to it easily. And if I went over a little bit on the white, it's totally fine. I also like to do the white first because the white is going to take at least 2 coats. Okay. So I do use, because this is a big thing, right? For us crafters, white paint is like a very big deal. There's some really good white paints out there and a whole lot of really bad white paints out there. So depending on how transparent, how much water is in your white paint, it might need more than 2 coats. The paint that I use, I get the paint from Blick. This bottle, you can see I'm almost out, but I use the either the titanium white or the blockout white. Both are excellent and great coverage. Very, very thick, great coverage. Okay, so I'm going to start with the white again because it's going to need more than 1 coat, helps with the drying process, and it's the lightest color. So I'm going to think about all the pieces that I have here and everything that I'm going to paint white. So I'm going to paint the whipped cream whites. I'm going to paint the book rectangle whites. And I'm going to paint the bottom of this cup white. Okay. So let me bring these closer together so I know what I'm doing here. I put these two together because I know that I'm doing this one orange, but I'm going to do it as a light orange. So there's that. Okay. Here we go. Oh, yes, the AC just kicked on and that feels amazing. Okay, so as you're painting, one of the things that I like to do is put my brush inside the paint and then work it back and forth. And I'm really working the paint into the bristles. Okay. So now I'm going to start working the whites and just checking to see if there's any comments because this camera is so high. But if you're just joining us, welcome. We are painting October's project for the month. So if you are a Joy Filled member, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And don't worry if you are joining in at this moment. There's still plenty of time to jump in, or you can always catch the replay. And I will be painting this again on Friday. Okay, so I'm just painting it nice thin layers. Okay, so it's better to do 2 thin coats than 1 really thick coat. I just feel like it has a nicer finish than trying to get it like super thick and then you're moving the paint all around and just has a better finish. And it dries quicker. All right, so I got all my paint on there. My first coat, but you see, look at how I love this white. If you craft often, you know how awesome it is to have a good white. Okay. There we go. I don't paint the sides. I mean, there might be paint that gets on there, right? Like here's a little paint, but I don't paint the sides and I don't paint the back. Some people like to do that. I don't like to do that. And if a little bit gets over, hey, I mean, it shows people. It's like proof you made it, right? It's like, I mean, let me tell you, it's going to look beautiful, even with this little bit like that. But I don't paint the sides. I find that when you paint the sides and you start painting the back, it gets really messy quick. And things start sticking together and all of that. So now, if you want to do that, just be mindful of what sides are like wet, what's touching what when you lay it down. You know, make sure that you not have a lot of wet paint around and then all of a sudden you're smearing it around. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and move on to the next thing that I'm going to be painting white. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to paint white is this bottom part of the latte cup. I just love it. So cute. I don't know how come every time we make something mini, it just gets 10 times cuter. Okay, So I'm going to just come back over here with my paint. And I'm just bringing this back on the camera. You don't have to move it, when you're painting, you don't have to feel like you have to move your paint all around. So I'm just working my brush back and forth, loading up the paint inside the bristles. Okay. Okay. Now, I didn't put a line on here, but you can do it. Don't get nervous. Okay. And guess what? You go over a little bit, don't worry. The next color that's coming is darker and you'll be able to get it how you want. Okay. It's fun, relaxing. You kind of get to know that about me. It's like, okay, no problem. No problem. All right. So here we go. We know that we want to have this kind of dip a little bit. Actually, you know what? This is what you can do if you want, if this is unnerving for you and you don't want to like freehand it. Okay. This is what you can do. I'm going to come over here into my little craft drawer and get a pencil. Okay. So if you want to draw a little line in here, you certainly can. You could do that. You could do it with a marker. You could do it with a pen. Maybe I want it to dip down a little bit more. Okay. I don't know. That was down too low, too low. Do it again. And do what I did the first time. Just a little dip, not too much. Okay. If you want to do that, awesome. You don't have to. Okay, so now I'm going to paint here. When you're painting with this brush, is a flat tip brush, it is not only about the shape of the brush, but how you hold the brush, right? So earlier you just saw me making contact with all of the bristles and pushing down. Now you can also hold the brush this way, and then that way it's just that line of the brush, right? So I'll show you what I mean, because then that changes the coverage, right? So this is how I did it earlier. I went and did one big thick stroke. Okay. But then if I take that same brush and then instead of holding it this way, I hold the brush up, then I make a line. You see that? Okay. And then if less pressure, then you make an even thinner line. Okay. So as you are painting this border, if you will, be mindful of how you're holding your brush. And you can leave this flat on the table or you can hold it up to you, whatever feels comfortable, right? I'm right-handed. So that's the angle in which you're seeing it. But if you're left-handed, same thing, just hold the brush a little bit higher to get a thinner line. Okay, so I am going to place my brush down and then I am just dragging it across. If you have a smaller brush, you are welcome to use a smaller brush here. Whatever's comfortable for you. All right. There we go. The mini latte is painted. So cute. And again, as I was saying with the other one, 2 thin coats, way better than 1 thick coat. This is pretty much dry. Okay. So we're going to give it some more time. Coming back over, working this paint. Putting it in there, and here we go. We're going to do the same thing on the big cup. All right, so when you're painting, feel comfortable to move your piece around so that you can see it how you need to. Yeah. Oh, hey guys, I'm painting I'm painting here for my October craft club. And so that's what I'm doing. All right, so now we're gonna paint the whipped cream, and you have two lines to be aware of. So you got this one down here, right? That's where you're gonna have it stop. And then you have where this is coming out, right? This could be your straw or a cinnamon stick. And so we wanna be mindful of that line as well. Now, a lot of our designs are gonna have like, or I should say, a lot of our projects are gonna have like designs lasered onto the wood, okay? And those are your guidelines. Oh, you'll hear me call them your guidelines. Oh, hey, puppy. And you can paint right over these. It's not a problem. And actually, that's what it's intended, it's designed to do. And once we paint it, you're still going to be able to see the grooves in the line to be able to help guide you for the next layer. That's why I call them guidelines. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna, again, holding my brush up a little bit higher. And I kind of like to use just the corner of the brush and you can go fast, slow, whatever you like. When I'm dragging this, I'm just moving my arm towards me and everything is staying still. I'm not moving my wrist or my elbow or my shoulder. Everything is just staying still and I'm just pulling towards me, just pulling like this, okay? And then I'm coming back in, kind of start behind the line, if you will, to get going, and then I start pulling again. I got quiet, huh? Okay. There we go. And now I'm just pulling, pulling, pulling. And so my elbow is not on the table, so I'm just pulling. And then I like to come in a little bit of a roundness. Okay, so there we go. So you see I'm painting right over those guidelines. And then now I'm just got a little bit of paint in that corner. And then I'm going to paint over here. And I felt like I had too much paint over there, so I kind of used this area to get some of it off. And then painting. And I didn't do a straight line. I kind of have like a little bit of a curve. I mean, barely, but if you did a straight line, that's fine too. Okay. Paint, paint, paint. And then as I get to the edge, I'm like going and then like a tiny lift. And that helps to keep your edges clean. Okay. The other reason why you want to do thin coats is also so that when you get to the edge, it's not like flickering paint everywhere. I don't know if you've done that while you're working on different projects or you're painting and you're like, what? Where did all these dots come from? Or why do I got all this splatter on my shirts or wherever? It's because when you got to the edge and you the pressure that you were applying towards the edge and the amount of paint you had there, it's like flicking everywhere. Okay. Boom. That's everything I'm painting white. So here we go. Second coat. Second coat. All right. Now, since I have the first coat down, I'm going just a little faster. Okay, there's that. And whatever direction you choose, right? I'm going top to bottom, if you will. Just keep with the same direction. Okay. So whether you're going this way or this way, just keep with the same direction. I know you probably can't see it on the camera, but I like to get the paint nice and even. Okay, the middle part here is gonna get covered, so I'm not, like, overly concerned. I just dipped my brush into some water 'cause, you're painting on wood, and wood absorbs fairly quickly. So if you are feeling like the paint is drying on you as you're painting, you could add just a little bit of water, and it'll get it gliding again. Okay, next onto the mini cup. And that getting a little bit of water too is gonna be helpful because we're all from like different parts of the country. I mean, I don't know if any other area might be drier than Las Vegas, but sometimes this paint dries pretty fast here. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna set that aside to dry. And you see, once you get that first coat, the second one goes pretty fast. My puppies are here. They're staying away, which is kind of odd. Well, they just ate, so they're probably like relaxing. And I will say one thing too about the Blick paint, it's nice and thick. So, which is also another reason why you might want to just get a little bit of water on there. Mm. All right, just about done with the white. Coming over here. There we go. Boom. All right. Let's see. What do I want to do next? I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Okay. So, what I'm going to do next, because I still have white in my brush, I am going to take some of this orange and make a lighter orange. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to do the whole thing light orange. I was just going to do a little bit, but I'm going to take some of my white from over here, mix it into my orange, and you just mix it till you get the color or the shade of orange that you like. Okay. So, what we're going to do is have some contrast available. So, if you like this light, then that's good enough for you. Cool. If you want to keep going a little bit more, then do that. So this is kind of the color I'm going to be going for here. Okay. So you can see I definitely going to want to use a lot more white. All right. So you guys just share a little bit. I'm like recognizing in this moment, it's so like quiet in my home right now. It's not always this quiet. So it's kind of like, it's catching my attention. Oh, and let me tell you, tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow is my youngest's birthday. They're going to be a teen now. So this is like a new era, right? Everybody's got their own schedules and doing things. And so I'm wondering, this is kind of nice though. I like being here with you guys and being able to paint. Um, I have a feeling it's gonna be how it is. I don't know. Does anybody else have, or they're in that era where their kids are like adults and teens and busy schedules? independent schedules. I think everybody has busy schedules, but yeah. So this is different, but I'm glad I'm going to be here with you guys and paint and do this. Okay, so now I've got this lighter orange that I got. I think even when I do the dots, I might even go a shade lighter. But for this part, this is the part, the rectangle that's going to go on the book stack. I do like this color orange. Okay, I'm going to move this off to the side and then just paint. Oh yeah, so pretty. I like it. You kind of see you still have some dark in there. I kind of like it when you see a little bit of streak of white and orange. I mean, it's barely streaked in there. Um, but if you don't like that, you can just kind of really blend it. But it's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Okay, this I'm not going to do 2 coats, so I'm just going to go ahead and set that aside to dry. And then this little guy, this little pumpkin, we're going to paint that the same orange. That way it ties in together. So this is where you're going to use your sponges. And this is why on here, these lines, I want them to still show through. And when we painted this, compared to like the sprinkles, right? You see that the paint went inside the lines. Okay. Here, I don't really want the paint to go down in there. So that's where this comes in handy. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of paint. You can dip the paint or dip the sponge inside your paint, but since I have some here on my brush, I'm just gonna do it like that. And bring this a little closer so you can see it. Do you see those little guidelines in there? I still want those to show through, so I'm going to use this sponge here and just tap. Very gentle. Very gentle. Okay. And then that way the paint doesn't go in those lines as much. And if you feel like there's too much, I've got to tap some of this off. I was feeling like even with the gentle tap, that might have been too much paint. Okay. So when you do that, you see how the lines still show up? You see that? Okay, now if you push down in there and you had too much paint on your sponge, just let it dry. See what it's gonna do. And then if you really are feeling like you want to recreate those lines, then we'll use the paint markers for that. But there you go. Okay. Next step is I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this in the darker orange. Okay. So just going to get some of this paint off, this lighter color. Wash my brush. When you wash your brush, make sure that you push the water out. So I just kind of use the edge of my cup to get some of the extra water out and then squeeze the water out with a napkin. Okay. You don't want to put, you don't want to keep too much water in your brush because then it changes the paint, makes it so watery, and will change the look of your finished project and the dry time. So, and I don't, because I'm still using this as orange, I'm not worried about making sure my brush is like all the way clean. I just want to get that light color out. All right. And now we're going to come in here. Same thing where these two areas meet up. Okay. So first things first, we want to make sure that this is super dry. Because if this is wet and you bring another wet paint in there and you start going, it's going to start blending. Now, if you want that look, awesome. Do that. Blend those two together. But if you want a crisp line in between the two, make sure that this is all the way dry. Okay. All right. So now I'm getting some paint, the orange paint. Again, working it inside the brush. Don't just dip it in there, but kind of pushing the paint into the bristles. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to be pulling. So let's see. So this is what it looks like. Everything just stays in one line. All right. Here we go. Just tapping my brush down, getting comfortable, and then pulling. You guys hear that? My dogs. You okay over there, bud? And I can see when I put this down, you see I'm not right on the line. I'm a little distance away because I kind of want to see how much paint I have before I bring my brush back up to that line. And then just pull, pull, pull. Okay. And now I'm just spreading it around. Okay, sometimes what happens when you do this, you get like this ridge of paint, right? So what I like to do is just all that paint that I just had in my brush, kind of work it out. And now my brush doesn't have a lot of paint in it. And then I just come back up to that line and just kind of smooth out that ridge. All right. Now for the rest of the cup. Oh my gosh, you guys. Do you hear my dog snoring? Do you have dogs? Do you have any pets? Can you relate? Do they have some like funny quirks? Right? We have 2 dogs, a boy and a girl. They're actually brother and sister. Um, and the girl actually she's such a heavy breather that sometimes she's just like awake and breathing, and I am telling you it sounds like she's asleep and snoring. So who knows? Right now she might be awake. She might actually be snoring. I don't know. Okay. I think based upon the last one, I think she's definitely snoring. Okay, so there we go. So we have the bottom of this painted. Please, please, please just remember that if you are going off the edge, not too much paint because it might flick off. Or just make sure that like the pieces that you're painting are kind of out of the way. I'm keeping them on camera so you can kind of see things as they're coming together. Okay, so we are going to let these dry. I've pretty much, for the most part, I'm done with, for now, the white and the orange. So I am going to really make sure I clean my brush because I'm going to move on now to the turquoise and the green. So I'm going to move this off camera. Let's see. Can I move it off camera? Let's see here. All right. Hey now. I just got an alert that I'm going to have to do this as a 2-part video. So this will be a good time for me to take a break We'll start this video up on the second part. So hang tight. We're going to move on to the second piece. We're going to paint this here. And don't forget, we have these small little pieces as well. So we'll be right back to finish those.